Hey guys, Becky here, FiveTwoBaker. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome to the channel. I love to share sugar flower tutorials and other cake decorating techniques. This week I'll be sharing how I make this sugar flower crocus. I think it's perfect for this time of year because they like to creep out when it's still cold, sometimes poking through the snow, and I think it's so pretty. So let's get right to it. These flower petals have a very long teardrop shape, so you can go ahead and use any cutter you have, whether it be magnolia, dahlia, or just a rotary tool. I'll be using a magnolia cutter today and then adjusting the shape with some scissors. So to start off, I'll go ahead and roll out my flour paste to be super thin and leaving a thick center. For my thick center, I'll be using a veining board. It was just easier for me. Once I have that thick center, I go ahead and use my flour cutter, making sure the center is in the center. For the wire, I'll be using a 28 gauge floral wire, and I cut it to whatever size I'm comfortable with. I want about 1 to 2 centimeters in the flour paste and then enough for me to attach to a center wire. I attach a little bit of edible glue, put it through the thick center of my flower petal, and then pinch it. To get more of a teardrop shape, I use some small embroidery scissors to just taper off the end a bit and get it closer to the shape that I'm looking for. Once I have that, with a large rolling ball tool and on a foam board, I go ahead and thin out the edges just a bit, maybe adjusting the shape of the top if I want it to be a bit wider. And then to vein it, I go two ways. I use this peony veiner. I'll have all the products linked down below, but I also use a generic rose veiner. So whatever you have on hand, I think should work fine, but I prefer this peony veiner for this flower, just based on what I saw from pictures online. This peony veiner is pretty harsh with the veins, so you do have to be gentle if you get this. And I wasn't as gentle, so I'm going to go ahead and just press the veins down a little bit with a rolling ball tool, just rolling it gently back and forth. Once it's veined, I pop it into an egg-shaped silicone mold so it has a light oval shape when it dries, and I go ahead and make 5 more of these. While my petals are drying, I'm going to work on the center of my crocus flower, and for that I'll need some yellow or orange flour paste, a carrier wire, about a 20 gauge would do well, and then I dip my carrier wire one end into some edible glue, wipe the excess, and then put a small amount of yellow or orange flour paste on it. Twiddle it down so it's nice and thin, and then I squeeze out a few flaps. I'm not exactly sure what the center of a crocus flower should look like, so some of mine have 2 flaps, other 3. It was really hard to tell what the center should be like, so this is just what I'm guessing it should look like based off online images. The other part of the center of my crocus is going to be just store-bought stamen. These are long and scraggly, and I'm going to use 3 of them because they have 2 heads, so I'll have a total of 6. To start off, I'm going to color the center part a little bit orange, which is why I suggested that orange could also be used for the flour paste. And I'm going to just add a little bit of color so that the center of it stands out a bit more. Once that has some color, I go ahead and brush a bit of edible glue onto it, and then I'm going to dip it into a mixture of yellow color dust and cornmeal. It's a 50-50 mixture, and this is what I use for the pollen. I dip it in there and then I just tap off the excess. I'll also be dipping the store-bought stamen into this cornmeal color dust mixture. So I go ahead and add some glue to them and then do the same process of dipping them into the pollen mixture and then wiping off the excess. Once I've done that, then I'll go ahead and set them to the side to fully dry. Now that all of my pieces have dried, I'm going to go ahead and start off by wrapping some green floral tape to the center carrier wire of the center of my crocus and attaching the store-bought stamens to them. It's a little tricky because the stamens don't have much structure, they're just threads, so they kind of flop around, but do the best you can and just evenly spread them around the center and wrap the floral tape around them to secure them. Once my center is all set up, then I go ahead and add my petals to the carrier wire. I start off with a layer of 3 petals and then add a second layer of 3 petals in between those first 3. You could, of course, just add them one by one all at the same time, but adding 2 rows of 3 just helps me make sure that they are evenly spaced. So all your choice. Once all of your petals are attached, go ahead and angle the floral tape at a 45-degree angle and drag it all down your carrier wire so that all of those other floral wires are nice and hidden. And then you're all done. You have gorgeous little crocus flowers. You could, of course, add their long leaves if you'd like. Greenery always makes everything prettier, but the flower itself is done. If you found this tutorial helpful, please do hit the like button and don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I would super appreciate it. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please do drop them down below. I'd love to hear them and I'll get back to you. If not, I will see you guys for the next tutorial. Bye.